A lot of people, they're scared of the unknown.
Yep.
And when I tell them my story and tell them how I was able to thrive and be successful, it invigorates them, and it makes them feel that they can take a chance and they
Yeah.
can try something new and do something different.
Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. As usual, it is my custom to welcome our guests. They're coming with a couple of things very expensive in my eyes, time. And we ate some of Michael's time up. That time is a precious gift. And I always invite you guys to learn to value time. The other is the journey. The journey is a powerful creator. It created us individually, and it deposited things in us that we want to have access to through our conversation with our guests, Michael. And so I want to thank you, sir, for coming to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being a guest on your show.
It's an honor, man. I look at it as an honor. I believe that someone has placed a demand on your knowledge, and that's why you're here. One of the things that I always ask my guests, as I mentioned to you, is that aspect, the latter part of our journey is to serve mankind and serve others. How do you serve mankind?
So I would say I do it in a couple of different ways. So for one, I'm a motivational speaker. So I speak at companies, organizations, universities. I wouldn't be where I am in my career today if it wasn't for people giving me knowledge advice. And I'm trying to pay it forward and give that same advice to others to help them when it comes to interview preparation, excelling in the role, advancing in the career. So that's one way that I do it. I also personally, I like to mentor people. So I've been doing a lot of mentorship, whether it's I went to Penn State undergrad, I went to Carnegie Mellon for my MBA. Sometimes I'll mentor current students at those universities, but I'll mentor people at different companies and organizations that I just meet organically as well. So always trying to mentor people. And then I'd say the third piece, I like to volunteer whenever possible. I'll go to local schools and read books to children to help them develop their reading acumen. I'll donate blood. I'll go to food banks. I'll try to do anything that I can. I used to be involved with Big Brothers, Big Sisters. I've gone to soup kitchens. I've done different things in the community, but grateful for what I have and where I am in my life. And I know everyone isn't as lucky. So I'm always trying to find ways I can give back and volunteer for the community.
Yeah, I always tell people if you feel you can't do anything, you can't do much. Go into the community and volunteer your time, and you'll see what it does to you, much more so than what it does to the others, the individuals out there. It'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, it'll change your mindset. One of the customs that we have here is to investigate ourselves, if you will, investigate each other. And the first space that you and I visit when we come onto this planet is this unit that is called the family. In there, as we are going to rest there for a few years as we move through our life, if you will, to become an adult. In this space that the family, we're going to learn a couple of things. We're going to learn about communication skills. We're going to learn about our belief, our modus operandus, if you will, is going to start to develop there. Our perception on the stage of the world, if you will, all begins there. What was your family unit like?
So my family is very close. So I grew up in New York with my parents and my siblings. I'm the youngest out of three siblings. So honestly, I felt there's an age gap between my siblings and I.
Uh-huh.
So my brother's 6 years older than me. My sister's 12 years older than me. So not only are they my siblings, there are times where I felt like they were like parent figures
Yeah.
where my parents like, hey, you're babysitting Michael. And I'd be attached to them by the hip. And they were, to me, they were almost role models, like
Yeah.
examples. You know, at a young age, I see my sister going off to college, my brother going off to college, and both of them going to graduate school. My sister obtained her law degree. My brother obtained his MBA, and that motivated me to want to do more to get my graduate degrees. But you know, growing up in that close knit family, we talked all the time. When we had dinner,
Yeah.
dinner was family time.
Yeah.
You're not sitting in front of a TV or like cell phones weren't even really that big when I was a little kid. So it's not like you had your cell phone at the table. You all sit at the table. You don't get up until you eat your food.
Yeah.
And that's the time that we all spend together as a family and we communicate. And, you know, we'll take family vacations and trips. And some of the trips we go camping.
Yeah.
When you're
Old school
camping,
stuff. Old school,
yeah,
man.
you're out in nature. You're
Yeah.
not sitting in front of a TV. You're not sitting by a pool at a hotel. So
Yeah.
it's time to bond with your family and talk and communicate. But yeah, it's a very close knit family and communication was very important. And my parents built an environment where I felt comfortable sharing anything that was going on with them.
How was your relationship to others outside of the family? Again, your family had a close-knit communication, as you mentioned, is key there. How were you communicating, if you will, with others outside of the family? What was your MO as to how did you deal with friends and stuff like that?
Yeah, honestly, I'd say pretty similar.
Yeah.
My friends and their families almost became my family. Like I have friends that lived maybe like a 2-minute walk down the
Hmm.
street from where I grew up.
Yeah.
And my parents and my siblings became friends with their families. Like I've been to celebrations where my family invites my friends' parents to those celebrations.
Yeah.
They're a part of the family. I've spent so much time with my friends that they become a part of the family as well. So it's for me, it's interesting. I don't know if it's just the way that I grew up, but even family friends,
Hmm.
friends of my parents were not blood related. I would still call them aunts and uncles
Yeah.
because we spent so much time with each other and built so much trust that they almost became a part of the family. So, I mean, one of the things my parents always say, and I'm sure you've heard the saying, it takes a village to
Hmm.
raise a family. So it's not just on the parents; it's the friends of the parents, and they become part of the family as well. Even though they weren't blood related
Yeah.
and part of the family by blood, to me, it still felt like family. I still call them aunts and uncles.
That is awesome, man. When you were heading towards college, as again, we're moving out to become our own independent individual away from mom and dad. When you're having the conversation, as you mentioned in your family, communication and education is some of the big pillars there. When you were looking towards your beginnings into your college arena, what field of study did you pick and why did you pick it?
Yeah. So at Penn State, I majored in business management. I always knew I wanted to do business. Honestly, I think I looked up to my brother and my father, and both of them went into the business route, and I wanted to follow suit.
Yeah.
I didn't know specifically what I wanted to do in business,
Hmm.
and business management was broad enough
Yeah.
where I could go into business, but I didn't have to pick a niche between finance, accounting, marketing. So I did business management as an undergrad. Luckily, when I graduated, I was able to obtain a job with JP Morgan Chase. So I worked there for a while.
Hmm.
It wasn't until I went back to grad school and obtained my MBA at Carnegie Mellon that I was able to find a more specialized field within business.
Yeah.
And, taking classes in business school, speaking with other students at Carnegie Mellon, they have what's called boot camps
Hmm.
where they'll fully expose you to the day in the life if you want to work in finance, if you want to work in operations, marketing, consulting. So it's a full day blitz, and they'll bring in alumni to come and speak to you about what a day to day is in those specific fields and those industries. And that helped me figure out that I wanted to focus more in operation supply chain. So after getting my MBA, that's when I did more focus on operation supply chain strategy. But as an undergrad, I just did business management because I
Just business
felt
man.
like it was it was broad
Yeah.
enough where I can go in a
Yeah.
lot of different areas.
Talk to me about that awakening, if you will, that day when it became real as to, yeah, this is where I feel I will be a good fit. Because that time when that happens, it does something to the individual as well internally. You're like, it clicks and you're like, yeah, So talk to me about that revelation right there. And how did you, once you got it, and I tell people, when you get that revelation, what happens to the individual is that that individual will then put into play processes and ways to get to what he had just decided. And I said, when you get there, I said, I always tell people, the reason why you're circular in your life is because you're not there yet. You got to get to that place right there. And when you get there and you make that decision, you kind of send out the signals within the people will say the universe or whatever it is. But you send that energetic command and you will begin to put the things in place and you will begin to see people navigate the synchronicity of life begins to make that a possibility because you decided to do that. Talk to me about that day and what started to implement as a result of that day.
Yeah, absolutely. So initially, when I went to grad school to get my MBA, I was initially thinking that I was going to stay within finance and
Mhm.
work in financial services. That's all I knew. I
Yeah.
worked for JP Morgan in the
JP Morgan,
past.
yeah.
And then when I'm meeting with other companies and they see JP Morgan on my resume, like, oh, you should work in corporate finance for us. You should do this
Yeah.
finance role. So not only was that my past, but my resume has that, and all these companies are excited They're like, oh, we have somebody who already worked at JP Morgan. They'd be perfect for us in this finance role.
Hmm.
But the more that I dug into it, I enjoy finance, and I'm glad that I have that background and I was able to start my career in that field.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that I loved,
Yeah.
so I can do it, but it wasn't something that I could see myself. I want to do this for the next 30 to 40 years.
Yeah.
I really started to evaluate what did I enjoy most about my experience at JP Morgan. And yes, it was a finance role, but a lot of what I worked on a lot of different projects,
Hmm.
and I was trying to figure out process improvements. How can we do this more efficiently? How can we reduce time? This process today takes 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Can I reduce this to get it done in one day? This process, it costs the company $100,000 to get this done per year. Can I get this done with $10,000? So a lot of it was process improvement, efficiency, and that ties in hand with operations supply chain.
Yeah.
It's all about efficiency, optimization.
Hmm.
So the more that I dug into, okay, what did I really enjoy when I was at JP Morgan? Even though I was in a finance role with financial services industry, it was more focused on the project management, the process improvement, the efficiency, the optimization. And that helped me determine, okay, I should focus on operations. I should focus on strategy. That's what really gets me excited. That's where my passion lies. And then once I realized that that was my passion, then I started identifying roles at different companies that align with that passion. Two, I started finding opportunities to continue to develop my skills in those areas. So I obtained my project management professional certification. I obtained my Lean Sigma black belt certification. So I found ways that I could be better at doing my job going into the field of operations and supply chain.
Yeah. It's, and I used to tell my kids, you haven't found it until you can look me in the eye and say, I don't care what you say, this is what I'm gonna do. Because here you have the JP Morgan folks and all the other people telling you to go this way. And within you, and I love the fact that you were astute enough, if you will, Michael, to begin that investigation as to, hey, what is the reality of me, and what is it did I find attractive? I mean, to be really begin to question oneself as to the ideal placement that you want to be is wise stuff. And a lot of the kids today are not doing that. They're just showing up just to get a piece of paper, and then when they graduate, they're wondering why they're not, because you have no passion. Passion will drive you to get your to make you better, to get you more information, data, certification, all the different things. If you don't have any passion, why would they want to hire you, man? So anyway, that's another story. So here you are, man. You got your you found it. You found this space where you want to be, as they say, the hot spot that you felt that you belong, and began to acquire the knowledge and the insight to take you there. Once you are there, now that you're in there, the different feelings now come back. Talk to us about there. Once you have arrived, you got your stuff, and first you spoke to us about when it happened, that awakening came. But now talk to us once you arrived in there. What How did you flourish in that space when you're
Yeah, I loved it. It's been an amazing journey. When I graduated from Carnegie Mellon, I started working with Chevron.
Mhm.
So I transitioned from financial services to oil and gas. And it took me a little bit of time to get up to speed on the oil and gas industry. It was a brand new industry to me, but I love the aspect of process improvement, procurement, supply chain, figuring out, speaking with different suppliers, understanding what supplier can provide us with the right products and the right services to allow us to drill on our rigs and drill ships in the Gulf of Mexico,
Mhm.
and negotiating with them and figuring out the logistics of getting those products and services in place and writing up the contracts and working on the terms and conditions of those contracts and putting together sourcing events. When you have certain supplies or products or services that you're looking for, multiple suppliers can provide it. So I can bid across multiple suppliers, and now I'm in negotiations with suppliers. And to me, that was fun. You know, like I said, I have an analytical background, but being able to get away from the desk, or get away from the computer, where I'm not just in spreadsheets all day, and I can meet with people face to face and I can negotiate and they can show me their facilities and they can show me the products they offer and tell me why their products are better than other companies' products and what differentiates them. That got me excited and I was flourishing. I was loving it. I was learning. It was new for me. It was something new that I was excited about and it was challenging me and I was growing. And then from there, I went from focusing on operations and strategy at Chevron to doing operations and strategy at Amazon.
Yeah.
And with Chevron, I was supporting the Gulf of Mexico. So I lived in Houston. And I was supporting like the Louisiana area for Gulf of Mexico.
Hmm.
With Amazon, I'm working on global projects.
Yeah.
So I'm traveling to Hong Kong, I'm traveling to Tokyo, I'm traveling to Madrid, I'm traveling to Dublin, and I'm speaking with our vendors in different locations. And I'm working on process improvements to improve our data centers globally. I love to travel, and
Yeah.
now I'm working on these global initiatives to improve processes that have an impact worldwide on the company and on the customers. So it's been an amazing journey. It's been an amazing experience, but I've loved every second of it.
I'm so glad that you're coming from the business aspect of it. And a lot of people, well, I tell people this, you didn't come to this plane, this dimension to get a job per se. You came to find your assignment, that thing that gets you inside it and moves you. And when you're in it, you know it. You know it. You were in finance with one of the best company in there and you were okay, but you knew that that was not it. And then when you found it, your assignment, and I love it coming, Michael, again, from the business aspect, because a lot of the people that I talk to, they'll talk about it, the spiritual aspect of it. I found my assignment. They're a life coach. They're this, they're that, they're that. But here is someone who's found it in the business world. And I keep telling people all the time, it's anywhere where you belong. You have to know you to find out where you belong. And Michael had it. He had the opportunity to go south, if you will, when all the other companies were sending him south, but he did not. He started questioning himself as to what I wanted, and that changes, and that's what you need to do. You guys better pay attention to what Michael is talking about. So here you are, man. You're all over the world now. You talked about some of those places that you visited, and I visited quite a few of them as well. Life is good, but also you are going to learn about you. You still going to grow as an individual, having all those different things and stuff like that. So I want to circle back, Michael, as to what was happening to this young man that is an internal being. A psychologist would call that subconscious individual, subconscious mind. That individual, how is he doing within all of this stuff as the material Michael is doing all his good stuff and exploring? Talk to me about that individual as to how was he managing all of this? What was his perception about himself? What was going on with Michael? Because you had a great foundation with your family. So talk to me about that as that part of you as an individual.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So there's been good and bad. So like I said, I'm very close to my family. I'm originally from New York, so all of my family's on the East Coast. Today, my mom is in New Jersey, my sister's in New Jersey, my brother's in Maryland. While I'm finding myself for Chevron, I moved to Houston.
Yeah.
Houston's not close to home. And
Yeah.
then I left Chevron, I went to Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle's even further away. And then I left Seattle, I moved to the Bay. So I did Chevron in Houston, I did Amazon in Seattle, I did Walmart in the Bay Area. And it's tough being so close to my family and not physically being able to see them as often as I would like to. So I told you about my two siblings. On top of my two siblings, I have six nieces and nephews. And there's always some type of celebration and reason for my family to get together, whether it's Mother's Day, whether it's someone's birthday, whether it's Easter, Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
Christmas. I can't buy a flight every single month and
Yeah.
celebrate every person's birthday and celebrate every holiday. So for me, that was a little bit tough, but along the journey I was able to meet my wife. So when I lived in Houston, I met my wife. And when I moved to Seattle, my wife moved. At the time, she was my girlfriend, but she moved
Hmm.
to Seattle with me. So we lived in Seattle together. And then we moved to the Bay and we lived in the Bay together. And now we live together in Austin. And now we're having discussions about us starting our own family. And even ironically, just last weekend, we went to a family wedding that was in Virginia. And then we spent the weekend in DC. It was her first time in DC. I was showing her around DC and I was trying to make it as good of a trip as possible to
Yeah.
open her eyes like, hey, we've lived all these
Maybe.
different places. We've lived in Texas, Washington, California. Maybe we can live in the East Coast and that will get me closer to family.
Yeah.
But it's
She
been an
buying
interesting
it?
journey
Is
because
she
it was
buying it,
hard for
man?
me. Yeah, it's been difficult for me to be as far from my family
Yeah.
because I'm close to them. But along the journey, I've been able to build my own family.
Yeah.
And the hope is eventually I can bridge that gap. And as my wife and I are talking about having kids and growing older together, hopefully we can move back to the East Coast and we can build our family and still be close to my family. I'd say that's probably been one of the toughest parts,
Yeah.
but I would also say living all these different places has made me resilient.
Mhm.
I have a lot of friends and people in my network that, like I said, I'm from New York. I have a lot of friends from New York that are born in New York and have never left the state, or they're born in New York, they moved to Jersey, which is right down the
Right
street.
down the
And they
street,
have,
man.
yeah.
I'm from New York, too. I know what you're talking about. So,
So there are a
yeah.
lot of people that have a comfort zone. The fact that I've been able to move from New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Texas, Washington, California, I feel I've built a resiliency where I can live anywhere
Yeah.
and I know that I'll be able to thrive. I can change industries. I've worked in financial services, oil and gas, tech, retail. Now I'm in cybersecurity. So I'm comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that has made me better at being able to do my job and better at being able to help people. Because a lot of people, they're scared of the unknown. And when I tell them my story and tell them how I was able to thrive and be successful, it invigorates them and it makes them feel that they can take a chance and they
Yeah.
can try something new and do something different. So I feel like I've built a certain resiliency, and at this point in my life, I feel like I can live anywhere.
And
To your point, I'd love to live overseas. If I can get
yeah.
an expat assignment, I would definitely go.
There's places for you. They would snatch you, man, in a minute. You just need to do some research, and they'll grab you before you even could finish your application. So let's talk. Let's talk a little about your book, because your book has really obtained so many accolades. It's gotten all the different awards and stuff like that. I want to talk to you about the genesis of that. And again, it's usually several things that will begin to drop inside one, and a friend will say this, someone will say that, and this crescendo, if you will. I tell people I love bolero because that's how sometimes things happen in our life. It just starts this little drum beat, and then all of a sudden there's some cymbals crashing somewhere, and you have to realize, okay, I need to. This is calling. This is bigger than just a hearsay. When that started, where did that seed came from, Michael? Where did that seed about the book, and what was the circumstances around that caused that deposit of that seed in you?
Yeah. Well, I would say throughout my journey, both educational and my professional career journey, a lot of people have been reaching out to me for guidance, for tips. So, as an example, I graduated from Penn State in 2008.
Mhm.
In 2008, we had a big downturn and there was a lot of
Yeah,
distrust in the financial services industry. A lot of my classmates I graduated with, they weren't able to find jobs at all. So, the fact that I was able to get a job at JP Morgan, so many of my classmates are reaching out, how'd you get your foot in the door? I've been struggling. I'm $100,000 in debt in student loans and I can't even get a job. So
yeah,
a lot of people were reaching out to me. And then I was one of the first ones in my friend group to go back to school and get my MBA. And then everyone's reaching out, oh, why? How did you decide to go get your MBA? Did you decide to do full time versus part time? What made you
yeah,
do the decision? Was it worth it? And then I switched industries. I went from financial services to oil and gas. So how did you pivot industries? I didn't know that you could do that. Like, so throughout my journey, so many people have reached out, and it's either people that are directly within my network
Hmm.
or it's a friend of a friend, someone in my network connects me with someone else. Sometimes it's a complete stranger that just
Yeah.
goes on LinkedIn and looks up my profile and is impressed and reaches out for tips and advice. And after a certain period of time, I felt as though I have a wealth of knowledge that people are looking for.
Hmm.
As I said, I like to help people. And anytime someone has questions, I'll respond to them. I'll send them messages. I'll shoot them emails. I'll get on the phone. I'm only one person. I can
Yeah.
only take so many phone calls and send so many emails. I felt if I put my knowledge into a book,
Hmm.
I can get my message out to the masses and be able to help more people on a wider scale. Same thing with motivational speaking. I can talk to someone one on one and give them advice, or I can go present at a conference or at an organization and talk to a couple of hundred people at one time and share that same message. So it was a way for me to help other people and share my message. Because like I said, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for support of my family, my friends, my mentor. A lot of people helped me to get to where I am, and this is my way to pay it forward and give them that advice from everything that I've experienced in my career, from JP Morgan and Chevron, Amazon, Walmart, what I experienced at school. I've been through the journey that a lot of
Yeah.
people are experiencing right now.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to help them and make sure that they're successful as well.
That is awesome, and I hope you guys are listening. We're going to put together all of his information so you can get to him. And just, I'm so happy that you're here because, again, I believe that everything has a synchronicity to it. I don't believe that you just showed up just to show up because usually here we deal a lot on the spiritual, the coaches and stuff like that. And from time to time, I'll get to folks like you, and I love those times because there are a lot of businesses and business people that are listening to the podcast. I see all the data and know where they're at and stuff. And so all of you young folks, because today is such a mess out there, such uncertainty. I hear it all the time and the conversation. I want you guys to get into Michael's space. We're going to provide a link. Get the book, get the book, get the book, because here's a gentleman that has been through all of those different cross training, but there are certain principles that will follow him. He talked about resilience, one of the most powerful forces on this planet. You have to learn how to become that. And when you become that, you can survive anywhere. It doesn't matter where you're at. You will see how resilient you are because you have been in that arena for a long time. So all you young kids, I know I got the data. I look at it. All you young people that are listening to this podcast, get his stuff, get the book. Even you old folks that are there that are looking to pivot to a different, industry, get there and learn from him so that you can change the trajectory of your life and your family's life forever. Talk to me because I always tell people this. 63, I've learned a few things. I don't care where you work, McDonald's, Burger King, sweeping the streets, JP Morgan. I don't care where you work. When you find your place, your assignment, all of those places that you work, the principles that you will utilize in your life. Talk to me, Michael, about those common threads that are there from all walks, all across. Resilience is one you talk about, but there are many more. Talk about some of those threads that you see as an individual that has been all over in that you saw as common things that people can learn from in their life.
Yeah, I would say first and foremost is hard work. I know it sounds simple. I was always raised where my parents told me I'll have to work twice as hard as everybody else just to get to the same level. Um, and I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult being black in America, to be honest. And I've taken that into the workplace, and I've seen a lot of people in the workplace, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I see people in the workplace that they clock in at 9, they leave at 5.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock, their day is done, and you are not talking to them or bothering them after 5 o'clock. I don't have that mindset. I'm trying to outwork everybody.
Yeah.
May work, and there's also work life balance, so I'm not telling everybody
Yeah.
to work themselves into the ground. But especially me being brand new at JP Morgan, coming right out of college, me being brand new at Chevron right out of my MBA, I want to prove myself. So yeah, there were days where I may go into work at 9 and finish at 9 o'clock at night. Or if I leave work at 5, or if I leave work at 6, I'm not just going home and sitting on the couch and watching TV. I may go home and I may read a book to to help develop myself and give me new insight. I may work on a training, a certification. I told you about different certifications that I've obtained throughout the years. So I'm finding ways to continue to grow and develop, and I'm putting in the work into my craft. I'm putting the work into my job. So because I'm willing to outwork people and work harder than people, I feel like that's helped me elevate and get to that next level. So one, this, like I said, this is from when I was a young kid. I've always been told that you have to put in the work. So I'm a hard worker, and knows that thread has stuck with me wherever. Humility. I never walk into a company, an organization, a role where I think I'm smarter than everyone else. I'm better than everyone else. I've had a lot of people give me kudos and tell me, "Oh, you're so great. You're smart. You're intelligent." I don't like to toot my own horn. I always go in there thinking I never go into a situation thinking I'm better than other people. So as all with all the accolades I've obtained, whether it's accolades through the book, accolades at the job, regardless, I I was just raised to be a humble person and be grateful for what I have, because I know other people may wish to be in my shoes and in the same circumstance. So gratitude is really big. My wife helps me with the gratitude as well.
Yeah,
I'm starting to journal more
yeah,
to express my gratitude on a regular basis. We write, I'll say once a week or once every few weeks, we'll write on note cards things that we're grateful for and great experiences that we've had. And at the end of the year, we'll go through this bowl and we'll pull up all these note cards and we'll read all these great experiences and things that we said that we were grateful for. In the year, it makes us appreciate things. There's just so many times that you just go through things and you forget about it and you don't realize how good you actually have it. So I'd say
yeah,
gratitude is a big piece that's stuck with me everywhere. I've been grateful for the roles I've had in different companies, the opportunities, the opportunity to publish a book, the
yeah,
opportunity to become a motivational speaker. Like I said, I've spoken with a lot of people since I published the book, and there are so many people who have said, "Oh, I've always wanted to write a book, and I haven't had time, and I haven't had this, and I haven't had that." And they're so impressed that I followed through with it.
yeah,
Something I talked about, and then I executed. And people were like, wow, you put in the time. And I said, yeah, and I'm committed. When I say
yeah.
that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, one of the things,
So
guys, and I love what Michael is talking about, gratitude, one of the most powerful forces on the planet, humility. When one is prideful, you know what it says, pride, what happens after you become prideful, so humility is a powerful tool to keep you in a state or a mind state of to learn and to be open, if you will. When one is humble, you are open to others, and when one is prideful, you're closed. It's an energetic approach to thinking and mindset, and one is closed when one is open. So you learn when one is open, then it will open doors for you. When one is closed, it will close doors for you. So be mindful of how you're behaving and the energies that you're setting out. Or as they say, the young folks used to say back in the day, your vibe. And people pick up on your vibe. Today they'll say energy and all the different things, but they pick up on it. And so you are responsible for that and be aware of it. And so again, guys, we're going to put all of his stuff together so that you can reach him. It is imperative that you get into his space and learn, man. Learn, learn, learn. You have a mic. It's plugged into everyone on this planet. What would you say, man?
I'd say the big thing that I would say, everyone's journey is different. When I speak with a lot of people, they'll look at their peers, their classmates, their colleagues. They'll see this person's like at this level. Oh, this person's a director. This person's a VP. This person started their own company. You have to stop comparing yourself to other people. Like I said, everyone has their purpose. Everyone has their reason. Find your reason and focus on that. Your journey is going to be different than other people's. And every journey is not always a straight line. I think people assume that everyone's journey just goes in a perfect trajectory upwards.
Yeah.
But sometimes you may have to take a step back to take two steps forward. Sometimes you may have to take a lateral step to take a step forward. Sometimes you have to experience things to better understand yourself, to figure out what you want to do. I like to tell people all the time, you have to enjoy the journey and you have to understand that everyone's path is different. It's good to ask people questions on their path and how they decided their path and what pitfalls do they recommend that you avoid and how they're able to get to where they are so that you can learn from other people. But make sure you're following your journey. Everyone's path is different. Ask people about their paths, but enjoy your journey. I think that's very important.
Yeah, but you have to find your journey first, though. That's what we were trying to talk about people, and you had perfect example. You spoke straight to it, whether to take the financial piece or to start questioning and asking questions as to what's inside of you. And he spoke to it. And perfect advice, man. Just you got to find out. All you're gonna do from the other people asking them stuff is to extract from them principles by which they did what they did, and then you apply those same principles to your journey, and you'll get the same results, because that's what the principles does. Principles are usually a law that you will follow, and that law will produce the same adult results, as they say. Man, Michael, thank you so much for coming here. It's been a nice one. I'm so glad. It's been a refreshing one to talk about the business world, because I know about that business world. I know about what your mom and dad put inside and instilled with you. My parents did the same. I remember, man, getting into this job, didn't know anything about it. And I went and I found the individual that was the best, who I thought was the best. And I said to her, what do I need to do? And she gave me some publications to read and some other things. I went beyond that. In a few years, I was speaking like yourself, going to different companies, bringing me to speak to them all about what I learned from putting in the time. And so you guys put in the time, it will reward you. So, and Michael spoke eloquently to that. Again, Michael, thank you so much, man, for coming to Threads.
Well, thank you. Like I said, it's been a pleasure being a guest on your show, and I'd love to come back anytime.
Definitely, man. We'll talk about that. I'll stay in touch with you via email. But I love bringing people back because we grow and you gain knowledge, and I want more information. I want to become better. So definitely we'll continue, and we'll stay in touch, and we'll talk about that.
Sounds good.
Because I want to bring you back, and then you're going to go in about the book. I'm going to welcome you and toss it to you and say, bring the book, let's go. And so we'll talk about it. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.